Hey guys, what's going on? BMcG here, and today we're here to talk about my 7-star rank 2 War Machine, who I believe is underrated on attack. He's an underrated support champion, and he might even be underrated on defense nowadays, but we'll get into that one just a little bit later. But before we dive too far into this video, if at any point you do enjoy the video, consider hitting the like button, and if you see that you're not subscribed, consider doing so because it helps grow our community here on this channel, and that's my favorite thing about having a YouTube channel is interacting with all of you guys. So chances are, if you're willing to subscribe, you're willing to comment, and I love interacting with everyone who comments. I think I've mentioned that in like every single video I've made. But yeah, let's get into War Machine a bit. This dude is an absolute tank. He is very safe to play. He has very high armor rating. He might have one of the highest armor ratings in the game in the tech class. Don't quote me on that. I don't think he has the highest. I think Guardian's up there, but War Machine's very close. But we're going to start the video off in Realm of Legends against Winter Soldier, and I'm going to show you guys two different ways that you can play this guy, and you are going to want to switch up your playstyle based on the opponent's health pool. So the first one, if the opponent has more than 600,000 health, you're going to want to go for this one. This one is 2 special 2s, which special 2 inflicts the armor break. You guys are going to notice a huge jump in our damage per hit once we inflict that armor break. We go from like 6,800 damage on a medium crit to I think just under 13,000. So it like almost doubles our hit damage, which is really strong and it's really solid. And these armor breaks, you can refresh them with your heavy attack, which is also huge because this guy essentially plays like a tech Mr. Fantastic. So you drop 2 special 2s, you now have 2 armor breaks, your medium crits are going to deal some really good damage, heavy attacks going to deal some really good damage, and like this is solid enough. Most of the time against health pools like this, you just want to spam special 1s to finish out the fight because the special 1 has suppression and rupture, and that will help close out the fight quickly. But as you can see, we're going for the special 3 here, and I just wanted to show you that it is absolute overkill. War Machine killed Winter Soldier in that special 3 here to finish out the fight. For those who don't know, the special 3 gives War Machine a Fury passive, and just one of them, and then if he has armor breaks, then he gets an additional Fury passive for each one, so you can get a max of 3. And that just amplifies the damage significantly. But the next rotation here, we are going to be doing 2 special 1s and then a special 1 spam to close out the fight. It is slightly slower in this fight here, but it is going to be generally the better way to play War Machine in smaller fights because you're getting that suppression off the special 1. The suppression reduces the opponent's combat power rate by a significant margin, and if you pair that with 5/5 collar tech, you can throw like 6 heavy attacks before they're able to get a bar of power, which is just really awesome in my opinion. And another thing to note about War Machine is that the special 1 suppression can be inflicted through the block. So if you are facing this guy on defense and someone's running 5/5 collar tech and you don't push him to a special 2 and you bait a special 1 and it hits your block, your combat power rate is going to be very, very diminished. You guys are going to see here, we parry and we do a couple hits, and it took a couple of hits to get him past a bar of power, but right here, like these heavy attacks aren't giving him that much power, which is just nuts in my opinion. It's really strong paired with 5/5 collar tech. It's like pretty much reducing the combat power rate by half, I think is what it is. Maybe it's even more. I wouldn't be surprised if it's even more. But yeah, that was like 5 seconds slower than the first fight. But yeah, the special 1 provides more utility than the special 3, so it's worth using in my opinion. But next up, we've got Onslaught from Spring of Sorrow. This dude was an absolute menace. Everyone was complaining about him. He has 1.3 million health, and you pair that with the dulled node. That means that your critical hits aren't really going to be happening because I believe it's every effect on the opponent reduces critical rating by a certain percentage. which effectively makes your champion like a non-crit champion. It's good for this fight because every time you crit Onslaught, I believe he likes to inflict that Neuroshock. There's a solid chance he will. Can't remember if it's guaranteed. But a really good thing about War Machine for this fight specifically are his pre-fights. War Machine, I don't know if I'm pretty sure I mentioned earlier in the video, he can get up to 5,000 armor rating, and one of his pre-fights is that he can gain energy resistance equal to his armor rating, and this is any tech champion as well. You place this pre-fight on Red Skull, and whatever his max armor rating is at the time of like any time in the fight, so if you have 10 armor ups, you're gonna have that much energy resistance. So War Machine effectively gains 5,000 energy resistance in all fights if you use the energy resist pre-fight, which is very strong. For some extra context, I believe Absorbing Man is at 8,500 to 9,000 energy resistance, and that's effectively like 85 to 90%. I believe energy resistance has diminishing returns, so the like 5,000 energy resist we have there is like more than half of what Absorbing Man has, which in my opinion is very, very, very strong, especially when a lot of mutant champions are focused on inflicting you with energy damage. You'll see at some points in this fight, Onslaught inflicts us with some Neuroshocks. You're gonna see right here, because I eat a special one because I suck. We started that special one at like 87% health, and let's see where we finish at. We haven't lost a percentage of health yet, and it looks like we are going to net heal. Essentially, if we didn't take those blocked hits, we would have net healed off that special one just by eating it because of the willpower healing from the organic magnetism debuffs. That's how strong the energy resistance is. It makes Onslaught's Neuroshocks do absolutely nothing to you. You'll be suffering about 30 damage per tick, which is like 60 damage per second, which in the grand scheme of things is just the tiniest sliver of your health pool. But we've got our 2 armor ups. We're going for the special 3. That's going to give us 3 Fury passives. We stun Onslaught after the special 3, and that gives us an easy opening just to get in, do some hits, and deal some solid damage. Our non-crits are dealing really good damage here. 17k non-crit medium, 36k non-crit heavy attack. It's all around a really solid showing of why War Machine is such an underrated attacker, because here he is handling one of the biggest meta threats in the mutant class. He's not going to put up record times against Onslaught in Battlegrounds. I will give you guys that. But literally every single other game mode, if you can apply debuffs, you'll be dealing enough damage just to chip this guy down. And even if you can't apply your debuffs, I'm fairly certain that just spamming special 3s against this guy, because you will be getting 1 Fury passive, will be enough. And you have the energy resistance guaranteed as long as you have enough pre-fights to use for it. Persistent charges are your currency for those. And as long as you have that, you'll have the energy resistance to counter this guy, which in my opinion is just really good. There's not a lot of champions who have strong energy resistance in the tech class that can counter Onslaught. Guardian is one who has amazing energy resistance, but Onslaught is basically 100% resist or 150% resistant to all of the damage that Guardian deals, which is shock. So kind of tough, but I think War Machine fits this cool area of niche in the tech class because he deals primarily physical damage while countering energy damage. But next up, we're going into Necropolis. This is against Jubilee, and we've got a full synergy team just to make this a little bit easier, but I do believe he could do this without synergies. It's just going to be a little bit slower. But this is where War Machine shines, in fights where you can ramp him up. He has general utility for basic stuff like questing or war, but these fights where you can build him up and ramp him up, it's where he shines, and it's where I love using him personally. The synergy team here is just absolutely bonkers. It's the Captain America synergy with Iron Man. Essentially, every time the opponent launches a special attack, you will power drain the remaining power after they use the special attack. For Jubilee here, after she uses special attack, she inflicts us with one of those like icons or whatever while she has her surge, and that basically tells us you can only do this attack, otherwise I'll gain a bar of power. And you know, we're just going to pretty much ignore that for like punishing her special attack, because we'll drain the power that she gains. Like right here, we go in there and punish that with a medium, and it drained a little bit, but we still did another attack, and that's why she gained a bar of power. But we're boosted, yes, I just wanted to say that we are boosted. But if you're doing Necropolis if you're doing Necropolis in general, you should be boosting anyways. But this is with no Fury passives, and our heavy attacks, when they crit, are dealing how much? Let's see, 47k non-crit. We eat a little combo there, but he's a tank, so it doesn't matter. We get a striker intercept. Let's see what this heavy attack is. 24k. Come on, let's see a good crit here. We're gonna finish that little combo with a special 3 here. We have the special 3 skip, which is huge for him in my opinion. It's so huge. But now that her fireworks surge has ended, we can start doing normal attacks. She's got it back up, but now that it's gone, we can start doing, you know, heavy attacks if we want to. But yeah, that was a 46k non-crit heavy attack. What else do we have going here? Let's see, 70k, 117k, which is the damage cap, by the way. That is the damage cap in this fight. So War Machine is hitting the damage cap. Oh man, he's just so good. He's slow and steady, and that is what's gonna win you the race. You can get hit a couple of times, doesn't matter. He's got the armor rating to protect you. Like look, these basic attacks are just really solid. We get in here with the heavy attack, and yeah, we're just gonna keep cooking this Jubilee down. That was a 56k light crit. Yeah, 56k light crits. I don't know, he's got amazing damage. It just takes a minute to get there, and Mr. Fantastic is super similar. It's just the difference between Mr. Fantastic and War Machine is that Mr. Fantastic has relevant utility building up to his damage, and you could play him without ever building up to that massive special 3 damage. Whereas War Machine, yes, he has the armor breaks, but the general utility there isn't that amazing. You would ideally need an effect tied to those armor breaks for him to feel comparable to Mr. Fantastic. So I'm not trying to say that Mr. Fantastic and War Machine are equal. They just play very similar. Mr. Fantastic's obviously better. But yeah, we are just absolutely cooking here. So she's in the second set of like Necropolis charges, which actually benefits us because we bait her special attack, and we can just punish with a heavy attack if we want to. The root is keeping us close to her, which is just gonna help make, you know, punishing her special attacks that much easier. What I like to do is get her into her pink mode or orange mode, which allows us to use the heavy attacks without giving her power, and we could just spam heavy attacks, and you know, heavy attacks hit the damage cap, so we could just keep doing a bunch of those and not have to worry too much. It's just wow. I was impressed when I was doing this. I'm even more impressed just watching it, just because of how consistent the damage is. And we are in the second set of Abyss charges, mind you guys, like, or Necropolis charges, and like they gain extra block penetration, I believe, while you're rooted. So if we were blocking stuff, we would be fine. Like the armor rating is just that strong. It's just, this is just amazing. I'm having a lot of fun watching this. It's a lot of special 3s, and thank God for the special 3 skip button, but yeah, like now we're forced to do just medium attacks here. Not a problem, because they're doing 36k damage when they don't crit. You know, hitting the damage cap, like I think he's the first champion I hit the damage cap with in Necropolis. Funny enough, because most champions that you want to use in Necropolis are damage over time based. He's one of just the like raw damage on basic attacks that works in Necropolis. just because of how, you know, strong the special 3 Furies are and the armor breaks are. Boosts are doing a lot of heavy lifting here, but yeah, it's just that was impressive. That was Jubilee and Necropolis done in 5 minutes and, let's see, 5 minutes and 47 seconds, so just under 6 minutes. I think that's really solid. But next up, we're getting into some story content, and War Machine starts to fall off a bit here, but he's still going to work for what you need him to do in story content if you bring him for a lane. So this node set here is Combat Deja Vu Prowess. This is a good showing of War Machine's ability to inflict, you know, his invalidate effects. When he inflicts suppression, he invalidates the opponent's prowess. And then he also works here because when we stun the opponent and disarm the node, he has the ruptures to basically get the benefit from the node being on, you know, unarmed. So it's just going to juice up our rupture damage here. So this fight, you can play it numerous ways. You can build the special 2 first and then build to your special 1s and spam those for the ruptures. Or you could do what I'm doing and just like spam special 1s. Doesn't really matter when you have the node increasing your damage significantly, because as I'm showing here, we only get 1 rupture, which stinks, but you know, we are able to refresh it with our heavy attack, and that's increasing our damage. The suppressions are putting in a lot of work here. That allowed us to do 4 heavy attacks without him getting a single bar of power, and there we go. It's not the fastest fight, like I said. He's not going to be the speediest champion in the game, but he will put in work when you need him to. And that was Beast down in, let's see, I think it's a minute 12 seconds. We skipped the Mr. Fantastic fight here. I used War Machine for it. As you guys can see, we have the special 1 Careful Study on us. War Machine was just kind of slow there. It's mainly due to Mr. Fantastic being an absolute asshole. But yeah, the weapons unarmed, we are able to get some solid damage in here. We drop the heavy attack to get that rupture refresh, and now we can go in here, drop the special 1, boom, now we've got more ruptures on him, and we could just do a striker here, and we'll do a bunch of heavy attacks because the suppression's just reducing combat power rate so much. And there we go, 4 heavy attacks, and then he finally got to his you know, special 1. We gotta land a parry here to stun this guy. So we're gonna drop the special 2 here to get the armor break. That should increase our damage significantly. But we are trying to get this parry here, and we finally get it. Drop the special 1 here, and boom, that's gonna be some solid damage. Now we just need to get a heavy attack, and boom, 110k. So we're finally starting to understand the nodes. So the way you want to go about using this node is special 2 into special 1s. That's the ideal way to go about this node set. Sorry, my glasses were bothering me. But next up, we've got Bishop, and I figured this would be another realistic showcase of his energy resistance pre-fight, because if Bishop launches his special 1, he activates this aura where he'll inflict you with incinerates. And the cool thing about War Machine is that we will be healing just a little bit, you know, from these. If he does stack up a bunch of them on us, like he was getting 2 or 3 on us, we won't be able to outpace the damage with willpower, but we are able to, you know, benefit here and reduce the damage significantly. But there we go. We finally figured out how to play the node, and there we go. 4 heavy attacks uninterrupted because of suppression and Collar Tech 5/5, and that finished out the fight in roughly 40 something seconds. So really solid there. And lastly, we have a node where the opponent gains an armor up after using a special attack, and then there's chitinous thorns, so every time we strike them with an armor up, they inflict us with a bleed. But there is a node here called Fortification, and tech champions gain a bunch of immunities to like cold snap and bleed. So pretty much what we're going to do here is bait a special 1 from Sunspot. There's also Be Like Water, so it's going to be harder to get a parry heavy in to refresh our debuffs, but not a huge deal because the heavy reach on War Machine is very good. But as you guys can see here, we're gaining a Fury passive every time we're immune to something. So my idea here is to spam special ones, because that's going to give us some really decent rupture damage with these Fury passives. As you guys can see, when we refresh that, refresh those ruptures with our heavy attack, they combine for 2400 damage per tick, which is like 4800 damage per second. Granted, they don't last that long. It's still a really solid amount of damage, and we're gonna finish this fight out with some really, I think we're gonna finish with a full yellow bar. We do finish with a full yellow bar, and I don't think we took any damage in that fight, and it just shows how safely you can play him. We actually did take some damage. We just had willpower healing. But next up we've got Ihulk. So we're gonna play this one a little bit differently, just because he's annoying and goes immortal. We have no way to truly counter his immortality here. We could be running the Assassin's Mastery, but it's not really going to do much for us in the grand scheme of things. So what we're going to do here is ramp to 2 armor breaks, and this is going to increase our damage just a little bit. The armor ups on Ihulk are going to increase his damage, or increase his damage resistance pretty much. He's going to take less damage from the hits that we deal. But we are going to be able to remove some of those armor ups with our armor breaks. One thing that would be really cool with War Machine is if he refreshed, or when he refreshes his armor break, he will remove active armors when refreshing him, so it's kind of like reactivating the armor break. I think that would be really cool, but he doesn't do that. What else do I wish that he can do? We're already dealing really strong damage because of these Fury passives here. As he gains extra armor ups, he's inflicting us with like 4 bleeds each time we hit him, so it's giving us so many Fury passives. And yeah, there we go, Striker, Intercept, and then we're gonna finish with a heavy attack. So not too shabby. And then we've got the last fight of the video here. We've got Omega Red, and this fight is going to be a cakewalk. Really not much to say here, so I'll start winding down the video. If at any point you did enjoy this video and you changed your mind on War Machine, let me know, because I love to hear your guys' opinions on stuff like that. I think War Machine is a bit underrated, and I do think that a lot of people really undervalue his utility that he brings as a support champion. The armor rating energy resistance thing is really huge because it creates a bunch of onslaught counters. Hulkbuster can gain up to 4,000 armor rating, which is pretty much 4,000 energy resistance with that pre-fight. Future Ant-Man can gain up to like 2,000, so that's 2,000 energy resistance. Red Skull can gain, I think, up to 2,000 as well, so that's another really solid amount of energy resistance. There's a lot of champions in the tech class who have native armor rating. Arcade is another one, and he's brand new. He gains a bunch of armor rating with his arcade tokens, and that allows him to gain a bunch of energy resistance. And War Machine pretty much makes a lot of champions into energy damage counters. And for those who don't know, like Domino, her crit failure is energy damage, so he can turn a not so great domino counter into a solid domino counter. But yeah, I ranked up War Machine because I always thought he was kind of fun, and I do like the value that he brings with his pre-fights because he's a really strong support champion. I also wanted him up at rank 2 just in case we ever needed his pre-fights in Alliance War. I do think Odin is one of those underrated attackers where he's like brought on Alliance War teams for his pre-fights, and you can use him for fights as well. I think War Machine's in a similar camp, but I'm not going to use a 7-star rank 1 War Machine in Alliance War. It's just not going to happen. I got to use a rank 2. So I figured it'd be fun to take him up to rank 2, but that's going to do it for me, guys. If you enjoyed, hit like, sub if you're new, and I'll see you guys for the next video or stream. Peace out.